Oh there, good afternoon. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt. It's an absolute pleasure welcoming back here on the channel for the big match preview. Of course, we've got a semi-final underway or coming up 5:30, but then, of course, the main one, the one that's really going to matter is ourselves versus Rangers. 2:00 tomorrow at Hampden, the place in the final. The opportunity to get your hands on the first silverware of the season is what is at stake. That's all that's at stake, but it's a damn lot that's at stake. And we are here to talk about that. We'll look back, of course, as a jump-off point, a wee bit at the game midweek. It was a steady performance. It was a very good performance. It was a rip-roaring, free-scoring Celtic that we haven't seen in a while as we took aside Falkirk 4-0. We'll use that, I suppose, as the jumping-off point because there were some changes there. The way that we played, of course. We scored goals, imagine that. And, of course, there was an intensity in the team that was sort of lacking. So we'll get round about that and about it. And I'm glad to be joined by, as ever, Paddy Boy, my right-hand man, and a familiar face. A man who's normally the king of the post-match, but he is here for some pre-match. It is Terry Robb, all the way from over in Ireland. Guys, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'll jump in first. Yeah, absolutely brilliant, Steve. You spoke a wee bit about the Falkirk game there, mate. Phenomenal. That's the performance that we've been waiting for. Not only, it was against Falkirk, but not only was there intensity, there was purpose. There was a hell of a lot going forward, and I was pretty chuffed after that, mate. You could pick anybody out of that squad, and you've seen a difference. You've seen some quality. So I think that was a wee way of saying it doesn't matter if you're driving a Honda Civic. It's the driver of that Honda Civic that will make it go better. So that was a wee twos up, I felt, for me. But yeah, listen, if you've got a good driver, you can drive any car.
Absolutely. Yourself, Terry, are you optimistic and glean after the midweek result?
I was glad to get back to the football. I mean, from Monday night till Wednesday night, just felt like there was so much packed into that 48 hours. Just so much. The shock, all different emotions. It was a real roller coaster for 2 days. You're just constantly refreshing, trying to get information, trying to work out what on earth's happened here, what's going to happen next, who else is going to release a statement. It was just wall to wall, pretty much. Phone, checking out pods, just looking for any kind of information to try and get your head around anything. It was just good to get back onto the pitch again. I thought the first half hour was pretty samey as to what we've been getting at. I didn't see an awful lot in that period. Falkirk had a couple of sniffs. Once we took the lead though, but it just kind of felt like all of a sudden the shackles were off. We started to play with a bit more purpose, a bit more speed, all the things that were lacking. The players looked confident. You've got to caveat everything with Falkirk, but that's the kind of teams that we've been playing previously, and we've been struggling, and we've not been playing with speed. We've not been attacking, creating chances, scoring goals. So I'll take it. I enjoyed the last hour of it, and it's gave me a bit more optimism. I mean, if we were still sitting here previewing the game and the previous management team were in place, I wouldn't have the same confidence that I have now. And I'm not saying we're going to go in there and we're going to batter them, because I don't feel that, and I don't even think it's a game that I'm overly confident calling either way. But I'm more confident going in this week than I would have been had the game been last week with the.
I think that's fair to say. And as you said, we can only take it at face value. It's one game, the new manager bouncing, all that kind of stuff. But we'll take the positives through it and we'll look forward. But before we crack on, as we always do, the room's starting to fill up. We're on X, we're on YouTube as well. So we're 2 destinations that we're streaming out to. Get your comments up there if there's anything you want to talk about looking towards tomorrow, how you think it's going to pan out. Lineups, do you think it's going to be the same? Do you think there's going to be any changes there? We've obviously seen some midweek that we'll talk about. And also, what did you think of midweek? Do you think it is a flash in the pan? Is it a new manager bouncing? will it tail off? It doesn't really matter. It was good, and we've got to take the positives while they come. As we said, the room's filling up. There's plenty of you in there. If we'll get 420s in there, there's Big Rab, there's Jay, there's many more. We'll get your comments up there. And we always say, if you haven't done already, hit the subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing. We're about 100 away from getting to that magical 3,000, so thank you very much. If you want to be like 420, if you want to join the membership, you can. Totally optional. $1.99. We heads up. Give us a sort of oversight, allows us to pay for all this putting it together, because it costs us money, believe it or not, and we don't need your money. But if you want to give it, then thank you very much. We appreciate it. Links below as always for all the other social media platforms and get ourselves here. So you fed up with that bit. Let's get down to business, boys. We'll use the weekend, or the midweek game, sorry, I'm all over the place now, as the jump off point. As we said, we didn't really know what we were going to get, did we? We didn't sort of... Would it be a case of O'Neill coming in with Maloney? We know there's obviously a wee sort of reshuffle as well. We've got Mark Fodder, Fozzie. We've got him in. I'll be honest with you, and I hated myself for it. I love that guy, man. I'm all into it. Right? I know people were laughing at that interview that he done when he was a manager. We've got that. Don't worry, that's coming your way. But I just like it. I like the fact that we've got fresh people in the seats. You know, yes, I know McManus has been brought up, but generally speaking, there's a freshness about it. And I think that's what we needed, because you couldn't keep on putting the same people into the same position and expecting, you know, different results. So there is an element of freshness there, coming at it for a new angle. And we all thought, was it going to be a change of formation? Or is it going to be 3-5-2? Is it going to be this or that? Well, it wasn't necessarily, but they did make some changes. And the biggest change of all was the fact that the performance was there. Just looking at this, start off with yourself, Paddy. You know, the lineup there, we're not going to kill this game too much. We just want to use a jump off point. Did you find any of this particularly strange, Paddy? Ralston comes in over Donovan. He brings in Sarashi over Kieran Tierney. He puts Forrest in for the off, and he gets Trusty in. Now, see, just for me looking at that at face value, those are changes that I probably wouldn't have expected. You know, I wouldn't have expected them, if I'm being honest, other than maybe Trusty, because Dane Murray has had an absolutely horrendous game against Hearts and, you know, damage limitation with him. Trusty coming in is a big call, but for me, the likes of Forrest getting in there, and of course, Ralston over Donovan. What did you think of that? And Sarashi, that being a big one there. What did you think of the lineup in general, mate?
In general, mate, obviously Ralston and Trusty coming in, I thought that was, like you say, damage limitation for the young lads, Donovan and Murray. So I think Murray had a snider, let's be honest. He had an absolute squibby game. But Trusty coming in, I think, is a big, big positive for us. He's somebody that, I don't know if Brendan lost favour in him or if he didn't trust him or whatever. Obviously, we niggles here and there. But I think he's somebody that, when he's been brought in, he's been relatively all right. He's got a good turn of pace on him. He does the hard stuff easy and makes other stuff look quite difficult. But he's good in the air. He's good at getting the ball out there. Jamesy Forrest coming in, brilliant. Jamesy Forrest, one of these guys that will show you the intensity. He will push, he will drive, he will go forward all the time. And that's what you need in that position. Yes, as Martin O'Neill said, he might be the same age as Martin, but he still goes, he still gives you that. So I mean, he's one of the players that you can rely on, and he's one of these people that we need in the club. We need in the squad. If you're going to get 60 minutes out of him, I'd rather have 60 minutes out of a Jamesy Forrest than have, like we say, Steve, will have Yang on there or Barakwisha on there or whatever, because I don't really trust them yet. Tenetke was my man of the match. Not Tenetke, sorry, Sarashi was my man of the match.
I would say so as well, absolutely. I know they gave it to Kenny, and that's maybe something for you, Terry, to talk about. I know you don't like guys getting man of the match because they scored a couple of goals or whatever, but no, sorry, Paddy, I thought Sarashi was excellent. I think, and it was quite funny, wasn't it? Because Martin O'Neill done that. You know, he didn't even, I don't know if he didn't know his name, but when he's talking, he's like, you know, that boy, the left side, he can really play. He's a good player. So, you know, but the performance, he gives an intensity, an energy, and a drive that, you don't want me to say it, but you don't get out of Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, no, listen, mate, 100%. Driving forward, the passion, the bite, he had everything. He was diving into tackles, he was putting himself about, he was linking up really, really well with Tenetke. And that's something that we've missed. We spoke about that on one of the previous shows, Steve, when we'd said that was one of the things we'd missed it on the right-hand side. Obviously, we had Kuhn and Johnson, who linked up telepathically. They were brilliant. And then the other side, we had that as well with that link up between Greg Taylor and like Jota and whoever else was in that position, you had the link-up play, and it's something that we missed. But watching that game the other day, they had it, mate. It was back, and it's one of the things that I just feel like going forward, that's the biggest positive for me out of that game. Was the link-up play was superb. Even Callum McGregor getting the ball in the middle of the park and turning round with the ball and going forward, not doing this straight back to the defender.
I had a look at it. I had a look at the stats, right? Now, I'll bring them up also flashing, but the one that I looked at was the number of back passes, and it was significantly down. We'll normally average about 110, 115. It was slightly down. Take it as you find it. It's at home. It's Falkirk. It was 81. So a slight reduction, but I didn't feel as if it was going round. And I know yourself, Terry, you came on yourself, Boys in the Bus. You had a tough task of doing a solo. You talk about it. But you've now got an opportunity to bounce your thoughts off somebody else. So I want to bring this up for Jay, all the way over, watching from Barry. Love it. Love that commitment. And he says, easily Celtic's best performance. No shadow of a doubt. Not even close. And with the exact same squad as Rodgers, which O'Neill and Mooney had less than 48 hours to work with, it says it all. Now, I had been told that statistically, again, take statistics as you find, this has been Celtic's best performance of the calendar year. So, again, is this just a new manager bounce or whatever? And I think you've got to agree with that. Best performance, Terry, what was your general thoughts here coming away from it after the 30 minutes of settling?
Aye. The last half hour, definitely, I'd have to agree with that. I can't remember if it was the last time I was on your pod or the Boys in the Bus, but I had talked about the kind of breakdown or the perceived breakdown at that time between Rodgers and the powers that be within the club, and that's obviously become very apparent in the last 7 days. But I talked about any kind of relationship breakdown. Look at a family breakdown where the father and mother are not getting along, and the people that suffer are the ones that have to be about them every day. And I can only imagine that, given that statement from Dermot Desmond, that has not been a harmonious place to go to your work every single day. And those young lads will have suffered. And I just think it'll have been a little bit of a few different things. It'll have been Brendan not being there anymore, somebody else coming in, some maybe fresh ideas, probably from Maloney. And then I would imagine the players didn't meet Martin until very close to kick-off, and he's probably just gone in there and give the speech of a lifetime or the warm-up talk or whatever. And I think a combination of all of those things, and then getting the breakthrough round about the half-hour mark, as I said, it kind of just lifted something and let them go and play with a bit of freedom. I mean, if Brendan's been, he's not been himself in press conferences, and I know that's the only real chance that we get to see him, other than what you see on match day. But if there's been an atmosphere, and if he's not been happy, that's probably been coming through at training every day and around the club, and it's not a healthy environment. And I had said straight after the Dundee game that I felt for this season to go anywhere, he had to be removed, and that's me as someone who absolutely loved the guy. I couldn't see a way that we could be successful this season with him still in the building. I then reaffirmed that after the Hearts game. Now, little did I believe that within 24 hours he would be gone. But I just think it'll have been strange for a couple of days. But once the players got back onto the pitch again, that's probably the space where they're most comfortable. And after that initial period where it wasn't fluid, it wasn't perfect, they got the breakthrough, and then they started to express themselves and impose their quality. And I think the ability of this group of players. I don't think they're brilliant, but I don't think they're as bad as what we have seen. And we could be sitting here in 25 hours from now, and we could be saying these players are shite. Martin O'Neill should never have been brought back. That could all change.
No, mate.
on tomorrow's 90 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't. But I enjoyed the last hour of that game. I thought it was a game where the best way for me to describe it is I enjoyed watching Celtic. And I think too much this season.
It's been a slog. It has been a slog. That's definitely something that I can prescribe to. I had my same frustrations, Paddy. As you'd say, that first half hour, I went, not too much looks that different here. The one thing I would say, and I want to bring up, that I thought the crowd were phenomenal. I thought that we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what happened outside and stuff like that as well. That in itself's positive. But the fine balance, there was the sack the board chants loud and proud, but there was also plenty of, Celtic singing and songs and backing the team. I thought that the atmosphere, the whole, the way that the feeling around the game was exactly what we needed, and it's exactly what we need to carry into tomorrow. There's going to be a lot on the shoulders of the fans that turn up because, as we know, again, we'll briefly touch on it when we get into the game. The ultra groups aren't going to be there. There's increased sort of hospitality and expensive seats. So it's going to be down to for the regular fan to bring that noise and stand up and be counted. But that, for me, was a massive thing. And I think that the whole atmosphere off the pitch, on the pitch, it was different. It was just different. It took a wee bit of time to get there. But when the goal came, they kicked on. I had my same frustrations with certain things, Paddy. Some misplaced passes, some wasteful opportunities like St. Mirren, but then it all turned round. But on the likes of the guys that brought in, I think it's universal. We can say Sarashi was brilliant. And for me, I don't care. He needs to start against Rangers. It needs to happen, right? I need that, and I need that in the Celtic side. That's no disrespect or slant onto the performances of Kieran Tierney, but just offers so much more. We're going to need intensity, we're going to need energy, we're going to get around the pitch. Tierney doesn't have that, right? Hopefully, it doesn't strike with the other side that sometimes can curse our sort of South American players with the madness that might be inbuilt to some of them. And that we've seen that in flashes from Sarachi, that the occasion doesn't eat him up. But if he can harness that, mate, brilliant, need that. But talking about the guys that come in, has anybody convinced you? Because we've sat here time over, and I'm sure you have as well, Terry. We sat here, Paddy, and we says, we need a striker. Ian Atcho's out. Kenny's there. It is what it is. He's not Celtic quality. Now, again, without disrespecting the guy, I thought 2 really good finishes. He was in the right place. He was where he needed to be. And a shame he didn't get his hat-trick right.
Yeah.
Has Kenny done enough, just on 2 goals against Falkirk at home, to lead the line against Rangers at Hampden?
I think he has. I really do. And listen, Daizen Maeda getting on as well was a very, very big positive for us. And there was a lot of chat, obviously, in some of the forums and stuff I've been looking at, saying, does Daizen start over Johnny Kenny? Now, listen, the boy scored 2 goals. He put away his chances. So, for me, he's on a high. And when a striker is on a wee high like that, whether he's been brilliant before, listen, you give him a chance now. This is an opportunity. Going into that game, Steve, when you've seen how Celtic played and how his goals kind of came about, he was always in the right position. Standing on that 6-yard box, waiting to pounce. And that's exactly what I've said previously on here. That's what we've been lacking, is having that guy in there with a finishing touch. Standing on the penalty spot, waiting for the ball to drop. And as soon as it drops, bang, he's there. And you've seen like the typical Martin O'Neill style as well with Kenny's second goal when it comes in and Nygren heads it across. And he's there. So, I mean, it was like an old kind of Sutton knocking it down to Larsson. You could just see it. It was one of the ones. It was like an exact replica of a goal that was seen 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And it's refreshing to see. And I think that's wee things that we're starting to notice. We looked a bit dangerous with corners as well, which I thought was a surprising one. That's something I always scream for. But to answer that, Steve, I would go with Kenny. I don't know what everybody else in the chat thinks there, but for me, I think he's done enough.
There's some support there, aye. I mean,
Johnny Larsson, give him a chance. You know
I like that. I like the sort of the wee memes that were kind of his face superimposed on Larsson. I'll not go that far, but Terry, for you, the one thing that I've been critical of Kenny is I always felt that he was too wide. And you look at the past games he's getting, he was coming out to the channel and he was always coming in for the edge of the box at an angle, which, yes, you can get shots off, of course you can, but making it hard for himself. The 2 goals he scores is exactly where you want your striker to be. He's right square in the box, and makes it happen. I mean, it's going to boost his confidence, right? Because you get a lot of work rate out of him. Again, just to ask you the same question, because Maeda comes on and he gets a run out, and there's going to be obviously calls based on what we know from Maeda. There'll be calls for him to start. Does he start for you over Maeda, or do you think that we maybe get something a wee bit different? Do we maybe have Forrest drop him out and try to accommodate Maeda that way?
I've been piecing together what I think the team will be, Steve-O, and I think the only parts that I'm not sure about is we don't know about the fitness of certain players. There's chat that Iheanacho could be fit. I don't see him coming back into the 11. Hearts 1-0. Iheanacho, no, he won't come in. I think if Dyson Maeda is fit, he'll start. Whether he starts on the right or whether he starts through the middle, I'm not sure. I think the 2 goals that Johnny Kenny got will give him a confidence boost. And I know O'Neill, back in the day, liked to have a big centre forward, and Kenny's probably the biggest in terms of height, but he's very slight. It's not he's not your big dominating striker, I don't think. But what I noticed about last week was that we were getting the ball into the box from a lot deeper and a lot quicker. So Ralston was crossing the ball, not from the edge of the penalty box, not from the byline. He was crossing it from that area of roundabout halfway between the halfway line and the penalty box. He was firing the ball in from there.
Yeah.
And I just think, does that ball work with a Dyson Maeda in the middle? And I know he scored headers. I know he scored headers and things like that, but does that ball really work? And if we're going to take that approach, is he the right man in there? I mean, my gut feel is Maeda will start the game. It's just what position he starts it in. So does Martin go with Forrest from the start? If he does, I think he plays Maeda through the middle and Kenny on the bench. If he doesn't start for us, I think Maeda starts on the right and Kenny plays through the middle, on the left.
The conundrum there's going to be, if something ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Now, I know it's one game and I know it's against Falkirk, but every single one of those players, I felt, gave a right good account of themselves. A really good account of themselves. And as you say, maybe, and it's all speculation, Jay's saying there, interesting to see if Maeda improves with Rodgers away, right? Who knows how much, people have said he's down tools. Some people have said they've fallen out with players. I genuinely believe, I refuse to believe that there wasn't some sort of divide in the dressing room among some of the players. I just can't see it being any other way, because it did look like certain players weren't motivated. And then you flip that to that. And yes, I know it's one game, you've got a point to prove and you need to pick yourself up. And it's important that you carry that on in the next game. But I thought, just you're touching on that, and I'll throw it up to yourself, Paddy. Forrest was like a breath of fresh air. Now, you'll always know what you're going to get out of it. Then comes the argument of how many really, truly good big games has Forrest had against Rangers, right? So there's always going to be that. But then Johnny Kenny gets 2 goals. He's unlucky. Maybe could have potentially worked his way into a hat-trick. You've got to play him based on confidence alone. And see if he's garbage after the first half or whatever, then you take him off and you just protect him. But I think you get more out of Johnny Kenny playing him than you will sitting him on the bench.
Aye. Listen, he's confident. Same with Jamesy Forrest, like you said there, Steve. Jamesy's direct. He'll run at the Rangers' defence, and let's face it, they're in no good shape either. They're an absolute shit show. So I'm quite happy to have guys that are going to be direct. Teneke on the left causing absolute chaos for Tav. I just hope he takes him on this time and actually does a little bit. Obviously, we've seen Balaquisha up against him the last time and he shit the bed. But
you might as well have had a traffic cone up against him last time, let's be honest.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, 100%. So having guys like Teneke on the left and then Jamesy on the right, who's going to be more direct than... Is he going to be more direct than Dyson? Probably not. Dyson's going to bomb it for the byline. But if we're going to have Dyson, I would rather have him in his preferred position, which is through the middle. But then I don't think you can drop Johnny Kenny. So you keep Dyson. Imagine Dyson Maeda coming on with half an hour to go. Imagine you're a defender and you're starting to feel it. The legs are getting a wee bit tired. and you see Dyson bombing at you. Do you know what I mean? Straight off the bench. That's going to be an impact player if we have one. Do you know what I
mean? The thing that I've got to think about, Terry, is this: when you have this decision to make over one or the other, I've said that if you bench Kenny, you maybe deflate him a wee bit, right? Now, again, this is totally sitting on the fence, but you'll know what I mean when I say it. But then there's also the part of him, if he is sitting on the bench, he'll be more eager to prove a point when he comes on. So you maybe get, I should have started. I'm going to show you why I should have started. You maybe get that effect out of it. Now, what I would say is if you start Kenny and he has a stinker and you remove him for the game, does his head go down? I don't think so as much. Whereas see somebody like Maeda, who has started games, has been stinking, has been substituted, he's maybe more on board with that. Does that make sense? As to why I would maybe, be more inclined to be happy that a substitution or not starting the game will affect Maeda less than it would Kenny?
Yeah, I get where you're going with that. I mean, I'll ask you the question. If Johnny Kenny doesn't score 2 striker goals against Falkirk the other night, are you even having a conversation about him starting the match tomorrow?
No.
If Maeda didn't come on, then I would have had no choice and I've been on with it. It's just the fact that Maeda comes on and he shows that he's got a level of fitness about him. I think, personally speaking, that was a run out there. I think you got to play Kenny just on the fitness. That's where I'm at with it. I don't really know where Maeda's at, but considering they're saying it was a slight back and a bit of a hamstring type thing, you don't want to be playing about with that. So I think that probably logically you play Kenny because that's what you've got. It helps the fact that he scored 2 goals, Terry.
And the thing I'm thinking as well, Steve, is it's very likely that Rangers will play with a back 3, and that's gonna be an interesting dynamic because if we go with the 3 up front, that's basically going man to man, and if you've got Taneki on the left, who's got a trick, but he's also got a bit of pace about him. Johnny Kenny's actually got pace for like a tall, lean centre forward. He can actually cover the ground really quickly. The one who probably doesn't have the same burst of pace that he had would be Forrest. But I just think if you're almost going man to man against their back 3, the more mobility and pace we can get into that forward lineup, the better. I mean, it'll not play out like that because if it's man to man there, that means they'll have an overload in the midfield because they'll have 4 in there against our 3. So what you'll probably find is whoever's playing on the right and left of their midfield 4 will probably pick up our wide men or something along that. I can't see it being a 3 forwards against 3 defenders. I can't see them playing like that, but I expect them to line up with a 3 initially anyway. Couple of other interesting ones, Steve, just before we draw a line under the Dundee one, when we're on the topic of strikers, was Callum Osmond just appearing from absolutely nowhere.
That's one that I didn't mention, and that's the thing. When we sat on here, Paddy, we said that this coaching staff will look at every single option they've got. Literally, beggars can't be choosers. They won't care if it's club signings, one for the future. They'll bring them in. Quite surprised as well that Callum Osmond was on the bench, to be fair. Aye, Terry, absolutely. And good to see him coming on. What does that mean? Does it mean anything? Is it just, well, you might as well get on it now, mate? I don't know.
I think there'll be an influence from Stephen McManus because he's been working with the B team where Osmond has been from basically the minute he came in the door. I mean, we only seen a glimpse of him, but he didn't look completely off the pace, or didn't you? He didn't look like as if he was in the wrong movie or anything. I think we'll probably find out more about those 4 players that come in, those 4 that seem to just be completely ostracised by Brendan. I expect we'll see Simpson Pusey at some point. I mean, if we don't see him in the next 4 weeks, he's gone.
January gone.
January. I've said so many times, I just can't believe that he isn't good enough to play in our first 11. I
refuse to believe that he's any worse than Dane Murray, Donovan, or even Scales. You know, Scales has been probably our player of the season so far. That's not me criticising, but I refuse to believe, Terry, he's what he can't be. In the same way, Shin Yamada can't be worse than Johnny Kenny 2 goals aside. He can't be. But he didn't even feature.
It might be a case that the lad has come in and he's just found himself in the middle of an absolute shit show, and either he hasn't been able to show that he's good enough, or the manager just wasn't going to play him under any circumstances. But anyway, that's another one. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, Shin Yamada was in for. He came onto the bench for the game against Hearts. He was nowhere to be seen the other night. I don't think he was on the bench. Osmond replaced him. So, I mean,
strange.
It is what it is. If Iheanacho's anyway fit, I imagine he'll come in and he'll be on the bench with, being someone you can possibly bring on towards the end of the game, or if, as it could well do, it could go into extra time. It could even go to the dreaded spot kicks, and he might be one that you would like to have lining up for you.
Well, Paddy, let's have a wee quick chat about looking forward to the game tomorrow. To finish up on where we are, there's your stats for the game, your sort of headline stats for your game against Falkirk. Plenty of shots, plenty of opportunity. More importantly, shots on target as well, right? I know that 4 goals is a great start. We've scored more goals than we could even imagine compared to some of them this season. But creating chances, getting them largely on target, 37, plenty of touches in the opposition box. This is good. This is what I like to see. Fouls committed, we've been quite high on that, but that's something that we've neglected to talk about. Do you know what I liked as well? There looked like a general bit of aggression in the side as well. Aggression in terms of, firing the ball about, making it fast, covering the ground. But see the times where there was a wee bit of a ruckus, they were getting in about it. There was it was proper. Wee skirmishes. I quite like that. Now, of course, you go into a game against Rangers, you don't want to give anybody an excuse to give you a red card or anything, but that's exactly what we need. See that kind of fight and that togetherness. You saw the wee sort of scraps at points, right? Paddy, that's the kind of stuff that we need. We saw a wee bit against Hearts as well. All right, we didn't get the result to go with that, but that's the thing that's been our undoing in a lot of games. We've been bullied in the dark arts, if you want to call it. We've not been great against Rangers for a long time. Mm-hmm. And things like that, those wee bits of aggression, the snap into tackles, the off-the-ball pushing and the shouting and whatever, Rangers in particular have done that time and time again. And our guys have just folded because we've only been like that when the going is good. But see, just that, getting into this game, for me, I think that's going to be very important against Rangers. And I think whatever is happening, whether that's just players wanting to prove themselves or whether it is just stress or whatever, lift off. As I said, maybe they're glad to see the back of Rodgers, but one where they are is pretty positive, is it not?
Oh, mate, totally. It's one of the things. Callum McGregor, like we've called him out so many times on here because he's been backing out of tackles and like 50-50s when you'd fully expect him to be straight in there and straight through. Even the European game when the boy gets sent off and Callum's kind of went straight in for it. Like he's no backed out there. He's went in and he's tried to win the ball, and he's went all or nothing. You've seen him up against wee Cammy Devlin as well. We know Devlin's a wee thug. He's just a wee Ned that likes to get involved in everything. But there was a wee bit of crack there as well, a bit of that kind of pushing about and going, right, wait a minute, wee man, what do you think you're doing? And you see it, and it's good. And like you say, Steve, you've got to keep the head as well as being that, but you need that aggression in there. Especially in the midfield, because like Terry was saying, we're going to be overpowered in the midfield. We're going to be, do you know what I mean? They're going to have an extra man in there. So we need to be a wee bit more aggressive. Now, I'm not asking for the total fucking brogues on like the other side of the city and then your John
staunch your way to victory.
The staunchness. I'm not asking for that, but I'm asking to show a bit of passion, a bit of bite. You spoke earlier on about Sarachi as well. Somebody needs to kind of rein him in, and I think Callum McGregor is going to have to be that man, because somebody like Sarachi, like you said, Steve, that South American, that fieriness. He's played in derbies before. He's played in big derbies. People
are asking in here, Paddy, and I'll let you think when and Terry, you can follow up on it. Callum McGregor, I'll be honest, in the games against Rangers, recently, last couple, for my take, poor. Right, very poor, not influencing the game, not as much. Yes, we know Rangers have been doubling up a lot of our key guys and making it difficult for them, but that's been asked there. What do we do if they go down that approach again, which they will? They need a wee bit of support in there. Now, look at the midfield that started up there, right? We had in there Negrin, Engels, and McGregor.
Yeah.
I feel like you're getting a wee bit more out of it. Is that the same midfield? Does that work for you? Get in this game against Rangers, mate.
It worked. Negrin was good for linking up the play. Arnie Engels does the dirty stuff. He doesn't mind sitting in there along with Callum. And when he does, I mean, they two sit at the back and they've obviously got the 4 defenders behind them. So you're essentially sitting there with a back 6 at some points. And Benji Negrin will be the outball. He'll be the positive, the ball out of that. And that's how he's getting involved in a link-up play with the strikers. And that's something that we've not had because they've all had to dig in. They've all had to do these wee things because, let's face it, Rio Hatate wasn't doing it. He wasn't drifting in. He wasn't helping out with the defensive side yet. He wasn't really getting involved in much. But Engels likes that part of the game. I heard that Raskan was out as well, so I don't know about that.
I personally don't care who they play tomorrow. And
I couldn't care less, mate. Yeah, listen, they can play whoever they want. See, if we turn up and we play our game, we will demolish them. Martin O'Neill's second game when he came in the first time was a game against Rangers and we gubbed them 6-2. And I spoke to Maria earlier on. I says, listen, if I was a gambling man, history repeats itself. Let me check and see what it is. It's 100 to 1.
I've not seen this level of positivity out of you in a long time.
It's the last one.
I says to her, it's 100 to 1. I says, that's worth a couple of quid of MD's money. And she says, right. She says, what else? What's the other bets on? And I says, it's 12 to 1 for MD to win in penalties. And she went, that could happen as well. I says, that just shows you how open this game is, how we are going into it. I'm saying it could be 6-2, but then wait a minute, it could go to penalties. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I'll take a victory any way it comes, but I think in terms of Rangers have a new manager bounce within reason. Now, Terry, I had a look at we're watching them. You know what? I watched back the highlights of their game. I watched the extended highlights. You can only get these sort of 12-15 minute highlights. And I didn't think that Rangers were particularly good against Hibs. And see, you saw that it was one chance and then it had 1-0 written all over it. Obviously, unforgivable that Hibs miss a penalty, right? But even the game, their other victory, their week there, that was a lot penned by the opposition's hand. Mistakes that they were taking advantage of. So I don't think that they've got this new manager bounce where they're suddenly playing amazing football. They're winning games, which as he said himself, I'll take winning games and then we'll worry about the style of it. But Celtic's first did look like a new manager bounce, if that makes sense. It looks like something different. So getting into this game, it's a toss of the coin. It's completely unknown. Two managers that have never faced each other. Two teams that have got a new manager that are both trying to play for themselves, trying to put themselves in the shop one day. I deserve a start. So you really don't know what you're going to get, as Paddy said there. But for me, it's undoubtedly, and I hate it because it is cliche, obviously take your chances, but the midfield, Celtic need to be far stronger in this game than we have been. And just again to ask you the same question, do you think that that's the midfield he starts with? Because for me personally, the big anomaly is Bernardo. Does he fit in? You know what you're getting out of McCown. And for me, he's a moments man. Rio Hatate can't be anywhere near the starting lineup, mate.
No, it's the same three. It can't be anything different, barring injury. Negrin has to play simply because of the opportunities that he's getting at the minute, the spaces that he's finding himself in. Yes, he could have scored 5 or 6 against Sturm. He didn't, but he's getting in the right position. See if this guy was taking all of his chances, there's no way we'd have ended up getting him. He wouldn't, he's kind of gone under the radar a wee bit, and he's still young enough that he can develop. And if he adds finishing to his game and he continues to find himself in those areas and gets the amount of chances that he's getting, he could go on to sort of be the numbers guy for as much in the way that O'Reilly was in the season that he left, or a Kuhn or Maeda from last season, just in terms of goals and assists. I think he is our top scorer so far this season. And if you think about the amount of chances that guy has missed, and yes, you can focus on the misses and go, he's an awful finisher, or you can look for a positive in it and go, he's finding himself in the right positions, he's getting himself in the right spaces at the right time. His timing of runs into the box are excellent, and he's got time to develop his finishing. He starts. Engels, I think, fits the bill for O'Neill in terms of big, strong, athletic. I think because of the fee, we've been expecting Arnie Engels to be a guy that's going to get on the ball and dictate the play and beat men and create chances, and that just doesn't seem to be his game. He seems as if his key attribute is really his athleticism, and I think if he was playing in a winning team and a really good team where his role is to be energetic, get about the park, get on the ball, be the one that recycles it, be the guy that makes the defensive runs and kind of just
seems
the whole thing ticking over. I think that's his role.
For me, it seems like a sort of a more modern, updated version of Paul Lambert. That's the closest I can get to. It gets about the pitch. Yeah, you know what? Lambert's great range of passing. He liked a scorcher every now and then. But in terms of, as you're saying, you know, ticking things over, cleaning up, mopping up, getting in about the tackles, an element of physicality. Aye, a slightly bigger, stronger Paul Lambert, I'd say. Now, Paul Lambert's my favourite ever Celtic player at that time. So that's sort of big praise for me to say. But when he's on his game, the good games that we've seen out of him, that's what I think. Do you know what? We've maybe misconstrued what we should be getting out of Arnie Engels. You think when you pay a lot of money for somebody, you think that's goals and single-handedly win your games. Again, look at the fee that we paid for Neil Lennon, a different type of player. But folk moaned about, he does non-pass it sideways and wins tackles. But you take that out and that's a different Celtic team. So it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We spoke about it before as well, Steve, when you said about like Engels doing that stuff and Engels coming in. Everybody expected him to be a direct replacement for Matt O'Reilly. Now, that wasn't his, like Terry says, it's not his style of play. He was never going to come in and be that guy who was driving forward and linking up the play and having shots and scoring goals and whatever. Arnie Engels wants to do the shit stuff that nobody else wants to do. He wants to dig in, he wants to get about the park, he wants to win the ball, and he wants to make opportunities for other people. It's kind of, there's not a selfish part in there at all. Do you know what I mean? He just wants to dig in and do the best for the team. I'm a guy that slated this guy before he came into the club because he's had many shit performances, and you start to notice different things. Now, we said it before, Greg Taylor, you can highlight him. You've seen all of these things that he was doing, and we're calling him out. He's shit. He's never in the right position. Blah 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 blah. But he's doing other people's jobs. Now, Engels was probably covering a lot of the time for Hatate because Hatate was out of position, and Hatate's getting lost and stuff like that, and Engels is having to come in and break up the play and do all of the other stuff. And then when Callum McGregor's off a game, he's having to come in and do that as well. But I think having they two sitting in there and Nygren above them, they don't really need to worry about going forward. They can do the mop-up stuff. They can get the ball, win the tackles, and pass it about there. As long as they get it forward to Nygren, then he can do the
so see on that, Terry, then that's really opening up, I think, the discussion, because it's going to need to win the midfield. We've said Engels is capable of getting on about it, mop him up, doing that kind of stuff. Cal McGregor can do it, and in the past two games he's shown a wee bit more. Tackles he's been into that otherwise he would pull out a wee bit of sort of getting more physical, pushing about, getting involved. I like that. But then that begs the question, and people are saying it's going to be Ralston, right? Because let's be totally honest, no disrespect, it cannot be Donovan. It just simply can't, right? It can't be him. And unless he wants to try and shoehorn Sirachi and KT into the game, it's going to be Ralston, right? So let's just assume it's Ralston. Again, no disrespect. Great servant to the club, but very limited, right? And he'll be up against the likes of Gassama. No matter what you think of him, tricky, fast, direct. That then says, who's going to help out in the midfield? Is that the case for Dyson Maeda? Is he going to come in here? Because if it's Forrest, you don't get that out of him. We've just said about Nygren, he's not that guy that's going to do that. So that's a lot of dependency on Engels and McGregor to fill that. Is that something that's in your mind, or do you think it'll be in Neil's mind that, right, okay, if I play Balikwisha there, if I play Taneki there, if I play Forrest, none of them are going to get stuck in. But if I play Maeda, he's got speed to get back and support Ralston, and he likes putting the foot in and all.
Yeah, that's probably a consideration as well as the tracking back from Maeda. Just to tie it in though, Steve, with what you'd asked kind of previously, I think that the last conversation kind of started around Rangers nullifying McGregor in a number of these games last season. I think what you may see tomorrow, and again, it goes back to the point I made earlier about the pace up front. See if we can't get him on the ball. See if they do stifle him. I think we'll go more direct. And I think we'll try and get the ball to the front three by bypassing the midfield. I could see that happening. I don't think that's a bad tactic, to be honest, because what we did under Rodgers was, even though we couldn't get McGregor on the ball, we just kept trying to do the same thing, even though it wasn't working. And I think O'Neill will say to McGregor, yes, let's try and get you on the ball. But do you know what, guys? If it ain't happening, let's be a wee bit more direct and get the ball forward. And I'm not talking a long punt. A long ball or a direct pass doesn't have to be a punt. As you seen with Luke McCown's pass the other night, that's a direct pass, but it wasn't just a hoof. He's picked his man out. So if it ain't working with McGregor, and Engels can't manipulate that in any kind of way, because Negron's basically going to play as a 10. So it is going to be those two. There is going to be a massive importance on Engels and McGregor. And if McGregor's being nullified, and if Engels can't get on the ball or take that pressure away from McGregor, then you skip that area out, and you're bypassing their overload in there, and you're isolating the 3 against the 3 if it turns out to be that at the other end of the pitch. You're on mute, mate.
Aye, sorry. Oh, you keep me right into it. No, as we said, Paddy, it's all about if we turn up. If we turn up, I still feel that despite our setbacks, despite our injuries, I feel to a man, we are a better team than Rangers, right? I still say that, right? We just need to show that. Now, thinking about here, the comment up there says, Rohl's got Rangers running about, and that's about it. It's pretty much the exact same you get. Now, what's interesting, again, we need to talk about the opposition, because we're talking about how we're going to form up. Rangers, for example, go with the 2 strikers. They go with Danilo and they go with Chermiti against Hibs, which I thought, to be honest, was quite risky, right? If they go with that 2 strikers up front, that'll surely be suggesting a wee bit sort of gung-ho. Now, he said he wants to win games no matter what, but that's an attacking. 2 guys up front, that's an attacking. You're going for it. That could open up these gaps that Terry's talking about and, get them out of position, drag them out for that more direct ball. As he says, kind of bypass the middle of touches. Maybe gets into one guy, touching the midfield, and as we've seen with Engels, it could be a touch, a spin, and then threading the ball through. We need to be that direct, and that can maybe go in our favour. Rangers, I don't see them doing what they've classically done, which is holding out the midfield, bringing in Raskin if he's available, bringing in Barron and chucking in Diamande. I think that ship sailed with this guy. So do you think that mindset, this 2 up front idea that they've got, does that do us any favours, Paddy?
I think it can do, mate. It might free up a wee bit of space for our defenders to actually go forward and do a wee bit. You're not going to need 4 defenders in there to cover these 2 strikers, let's face it. If we've got Big Trusty in there and Scales, who, like you say, Steve, has been probably our player of the season, then I would reckon they would have enough in the tank to kind of knock these boys about and show them who the boss is, which would free up a bit of space for guys like Sarashi and if it is Tony Ralston to push forward a wee bit and open up the play once we do win the ball. So I'm quite good. Let them play however they want, mate. And if we need to bypass the midfield, like you say, they're going to try and overpower that and get the possession and things like that. Try and control the game, essentially, in the middle of the park. It's what they've done previously under Barry and under Clement. They tried to overpower the midfield. And somebody said in the comments as well about Diamande having a free roll and running about and starting to kick folk up and down the park. It's just basically what he does. It's just basically like a big butcher, isn't he? I think I don't know who the ref is, mate, but Walsh. That's something going into it.
Walsh, but it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
Of course, it shouldn't matter, mate. But listen, how many games have we went into this season when you see him coming in? And the last game, mate, I think he had 4 tackles before he got a yellow, and then he had about 6 after that, and there was nothing. And for me, there needs to be that wee bit of consistency. There needs to be something in there to show it, because I guarantee that if Sarashi has about 5 or 6 tackles, he'll be off the park.
Well, I hope not, but I actually think I'm looking at the comments coming in. And Wilson saying he thinks he'll play 3-5-2. Now I've looked at the Rangers team, and I think that 5-3-2. Sorry, I've had a look at it, and I think if they go with Chermiti and they go with Danilo up front, now no matter what people want to say about the guy, obviously I've got Miovski as an option, right? But no matter what folk want to say about Dessers, these two guys, I think, there's your case for Scales and Trusty, undoubtedly. You know, what's Trusty good at? He's kind of good at when the game's in front of him. Neither Chermiti nor, what you call him, O'Neill are particularly fast, but they are physical, Terry. And I think that'll play into his hands if he's fit, able and available. I think that works for us. Then you think about where the dangers coming. Yeah, Gassama's fast and he can be tricky. It might be Ant-Man. I think that having Sarachi covers whatever's put in front of him, and then again with Gassama, Ralston will need support, but they are manageable. That's why come back to it. That's why that midfield battle is the one that's going to matter, because Rangers, they still whip the balls in. They still depend on the cross ball in for Tav and stuff, which is funny. He's still one of the most creative and dangerous players. We already know that. Shut that down. But they'll be looking to try and thread balls into these guys, because that's what they're going to do. Go try and be physical, hold it up, maybe get a knockdown and do it. And if that's the way it's going to pan out for Celtic, I think that's going to help us out, mate. I really, really do.
I'm going to throw a spanner in the works. I don't think Sarachi will start.
Oh, Terry, no.
I hope not. I wouldn't.
I think if Kieran Tierney's fit, he'll start, and I think Sarachi will be on the bench again. But it's the same. It's the same discussion, whichever one of the two players it is. I think we're focusing too much on what they may or may not do. I think our manager or our managers, whichever one you think's calling the shots in terms of setting the team up, I think they'll be focusing on what we're going to do and trying to impose what we want to do on the game, as opposed to. Don't get me wrong. I don't think you can disregard the opposition, but I think we need to focus on what's going to work for us.
Well, what's going to work for us? A lot of people are saying stuff about, Taneke versus Tav, licking our lips. Yes, I will. And again, he has a great performance against Falkirk. Very good. Glad to see how it came around for him. We needed that from him, because I had said that we went through a stage where maybe the handbrake's been taken off, right? With Rodgers moving on. Again, not saying that's the case, but maybe it has. Because the thing that I like Taneke, and he's one of our most creative players, even in the lull, but he needed more. He needed numbers. He needed a goal. He needed an assist. He needed something, because it's fine running about, beating a guy, chopping back, beating the same guy again, and then it going nowhere. Brilliant. It looks good in the eye, but if it's ineffective, it's ineffective. So, yeah, do you know what? Going up against Tavernier, tricky, fast, direct, but he needs to make sure he does that. It needs to have some sort of outcome and end product, Paddy. It can't just be, get the ball out to him, he's dead dangerous. What's he dead dangerous? He gets by the guy and then it goes nowhere.
I think that goes back to the Negrin point around if Taneke had all of those attributes, we wouldn't have been able to get him. And if you look back at his data for the previous season, I think did he only score like 2 goals or something the season before? So
yeah,
his output hasn't been where we need it to be. But if it was, he wouldn't have came to Celtic. We've brought in someone that we believe has got the potential and will be able to develop. And much like Negrin, I think if he can add goals and assists to what he's already shown, then he becomes an excellent asset for us.
Yeah, like I say, Benji Negrin with the knockdowns and stuff like that. See, we've not really had somebody who's going to be in the box knocking the ball down for a striker to be standing there. We've always had these wingers who've got to the byline and pumped the ball into the box, hoping that somebody's been charging in to get on the end of it. How many times have you seen Maeda hit the byline and put a ball across and it goes right across the other side? Likewise, on the other side, Alistair Johnson or Kuhn putting the ball across and it just goes straight across the 6-yard box, nobody attacking it. Now, you had said before there, Terry, Negrin is one of these guys, he always seems to find himself in the right position. And that doesn't come by chance. That's something that guy's practiced. That's something that guy's actually doing on the training ground. And it's something that we've missed. With these balls into the box, Terry was saying there, Ralston pinging the ball in for 30 yards. Negrin headers it down. He doesn't go for goal because he knows he's not going to get the power on it. He heads it back into a dangerous position. And you've got your Johnny Kenny standing on the penalty spot, waiting on this ball drop him, ready to head it in. That's something that we've really, really missed. And I think when you're talking about the coaching styles and things like that, who's calling the shots, we've got everything in there. We've got Martin O'Neill, who has come in. Yes, he's 73 years old, but like Carl McGregor says, he's sharp as a tack. Martin knows exactly what he's doing, right? He's come in, and his job, I feel, is to get the fan base back on side, right? Mm-hmm. Get the fans supporting the team. The board know they're on the road out. Listen, they're not going to get Martin O'Neill changing the fans' opinion on the board and whatever, but he's getting the fans back behind the team, and that's basically his role in this. Sean Maloney has been brought up for the youth system to do what he's been doing down there, to get these players believing in themselves, to get them playing the proper football. And like you said, Steve, Fozzie has been brought in to bring the intensity, to bring the drive.
Well, easy to say it. Let's play it. Come on.
If you're not training with intensity and you do 3 days out of the 5 days, you'll not be in my team. I've got a good group here. And the team, the starting 11 and the subs, they earned the right. If you want the cost, just stay at home. You're not going to play for me.
So that was him talking to Rio Hatate at his first training. He sat him down. If you're not playing with that density, you'll not be in my team. Now, like I said, I love it, right? And I know he's been. Folk laugh at that. There's a great one of him at Hertha talking in German. So folk might say, "Oh, he sounds like a knuckle dragger."
But Steve, do you think it's just by chance that this lad's been brought in?
Well, see, here's the funny thing. We talk about jobs for the boys. Now, I don't know if you've seen it on social media, right? There's a great picture going around of Martin O'Neill. He's wearing the white polo, jumping up, right? See if you look under his knee. There's a young Sean Maloney with a cap on, sitting like that, and beside him is Mark Fotheringham, right? Yeah. Mental how things pan out. No, I think, again, it talks about a level of freshness. I like the fact that he's come in. Now, no matter what you think, people will listen. I think he's from Dundee or something like that, right? He's got an accent. Who cares, right? Oh, listen to him. It's hilarious, right? I quite like that. See that level of directness where he's saying, see if you want to just be comfortable. As we said, Paddy, as you've said, Terry, guys coasting, phoning in, dialing in, forget about it, right? And see if you've got somebody that's completely different. Because let's face it, see if it was just Martin O'Neill coming in with the exact same pre-existing team behind them, then players will coast because they've got that wee crutch, that wee normality. You bring in new faces. Maloney's been in about the club, but he's not going to train, Pat just doesn't know. You bring in Foreign again, they don't know who he is. Totally new, rip up Martin O'Neill, they'll know who he is. And then of course the only one is McManus. Yeah, do you know what? It's a guy temporary in the backroom staff. I'm not going to lose any sleep. I'd rather that be in the situation than I'm being brought up to support Kennedy, for example, right? So it is what it is. But you've got fresh faces there, and they will be that direct with them. And they'll convey the message. Yous have had it too good for too long. Crack on and earn your stripes. You're not going to start. You're not going to get a game if you don't show it. So I quite like that. And I just think is it jobs for the boys? Well, no. He's went away. He's done his own thing. He's been elsewhere, and I actually think it's quite refreshing. Yes, he was once at Celtic, but it is what it is.
But by all accounts, he's a real character, and I think maybe the guys have identified very quickly these players need a bit of a lift. Maybe training hasn't been fun, and maybe they've thought of, is there someone we can bring in just to lift the mood around the place? And
we'll see the end, and again. People will slag you off and go, oh, that's the kind of thing Rangers get excited about. We spoke about the atmosphere in the stands and on the pitch. See just wee simple things. Like at the end, he stood and shook every player's hand or he was giving him a hug and see it was genuine reaction. Everybody looked happy. And how many times did you genuinely see that? You'd normally see Kennedy or Roger standing there and they're
emotionless, no emotion.
Lackadaisical sort of well done and off the pitch. There was an actual wee bit of buzz, a wee bit of grabbing him with the shoulders and giving him a bit of this. And do you know what? It's cheap and it's low, it's low end stuff. But you need all these wee tiny things. You need that energy. You need it to be off the pitch. You need it to be in the training sessions. You need it to be in the dugout because it creates a buzz and it keeps going round. And these wee tiny thin things, when you add them all up, it creates an environment and a culture. And to see that guys looking as if they'd integrated and looked like they were liked after such a short period of time, that is good. That is good. Rather than the laptop sitting there, he's still sitting there. But as I said, the usual guys go when they come off the pitch.
That as well, sort of, you were talking about possibly the dressing room being split. It seems the back room, there's definitely been a split. How come one of the assistant managers is gone and the other one isn't? How come certain people from the backroom staff left, but the other ones didn't? It just kind of feels that there's been a massive split, and people have been asked to take sides, or people have taken sides. Much again going back to a broken family environment. The parents are playing out against each other. They're trying to point score with the kids, and then ultimately the kids are asked which one of us are you back, and who do you want to go and live with, kind of thing.
No, there's a lot of positivity, and when we move on there, listen, keep bringing up your thoughts, because we'll wrap up the show. I'll get what you think he scores and stuff. Bring these up there. We'll try and get as many comments as we can as well. It's just a wee bit confusing. Everyone comments say stop blocking comments. I've not blocked any comments, so I don't know what you're talking about. Please do elaborate, although we do have a filter on, because there's certain nasty things that we don't want to appear in the comments. So if you are typing in such expletive, you will come up. So maybe that's the stuff in there.
See, you're talking about manager styles and stuff, Steve. Obviously, we knew what kind of style of manager Brendan Rodgers was, and not name dropping, but one of our friends who's appeared on the podcast, I managed to speak to him the other day. It was Diddy Agat. And I says to him, obviously, Martin's back at Celtic, Diddy. What do you think he's going to bring to Celtic? And he said, he'll let the players play how they want to play. He'll know, he will understand what they do. And he said that to us previously. That was one of the ones, I'll speak to you now directly, Terry. When we had him on, he had said that previous managers he'd worked in had tried to overcoach him, had tried to say, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. When Martin O'Neill came in, he said, right, listen, I understand what you have. I know your attributes. I know what you can do. Go and do it. And he didn't overcomplicate things. And I felt like we've seen that a wee bit against Falkirk. Callum McGregor sat in there. Callum McGregor played his role as the captain. He was able to direct players round about him. He was able to drive forward and go and do a little bit of what he wanted to do. Engels was the same. And then obviously, I'm at the top. I feel like I've been promoted. I feel like it was you seen that part where the players had been told that they could go out and enjoy themselves a wee bit. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Aye, and even though Steve said when he gave us the numbers there wasn't a huge drop off in terms of backward passes, but it certainly it didn't feel like Schmeichel was playing the ball out as much. It didn't feel like he was like there's games there where it's heart and mouth stuff with what he's trying to do for very, very little gain, and it just didn't feel like there was a massive amount of that at all. I mean, even look at Dane Murray's performance against Hearts. Aside from the moments of calamity, he just seemed to just want to go back to Schmeichel all the time. And is that because that's the kind of player he is, or is that because that's what's coached into these players day in, day out? You get the ball, if there's nothing obvious in terms of an attack, just recycle it. Whereas if there's another approach would be, if there's nothing obvious in terms of an attack, go and be creative and make something happen.
I felt that was the difference. There wasn't that, like you said, if you can't go forward, just go back to the keeper.
Even look at the Ralston cross for...
Yeah, it's resetting the point of attack.
Even look at the Ralston ball in where Negron nods it for Kenny. The next goal, I think it was Ralston again with an early ball from very similar point, the one where Sriracha then ended up with the shot. And I think at that point, under Rodgers, that ball doesn't get swung into the box. That ball makes its way back round and goes down the other side and probably then comes back again 5 or 6 different times.
There's a couple of things that are coming in here. I just want to know. Obviously we're on here, so people are saying there's rumours circulating that Ian Acho has been released. I think that would be extremely interesting, and that maybe again, this is just people texting it. So obviously, that'll be interesting to see if that is true. But perhaps, maybe again, if that is the case, maybe that's why we saw Callum Osmond on the bench. Then maybe that makes sense. That wouldn't make sense that we don't see Shin Yamada there, but certainly that's an interesting and definitely one keeping their eye on, because maybe if he is going to be released, I can only imagine maybe his injury is going to be too long to make it, any sense keeping him around. Hopefully not, but what's your thoughts on that?
Back in contention for tomorrow. The chat was he was back in contention for tomorrow.
Very, very strange.
I've not seen it. I've not seen anything myself. Yeah, but very interesting.
Terry, were you not watching the Celtic TV do their wee Instagram post and stuff where players are running about and it doesn't look scripted at all? Were you not watching that to see if Iheanacho was making an appearance or anything? No.
I didn't see it this week. No.
Nah.
So, guys, before we finish up, I want to just get a wee sort of food for thought for you guys here, right? All right. Before the game, as we know, we'll talk about various things now. The Brendan Rodgers situation is done. Let's shelf it, but it's still a strange one. As you said, turmoil, turbulent, out the blue, Terry, made you scratch your head for the turn of the week, right? We heard from Stephen McGowan, every Celtic's favourite go-to guy, that apparently there was a meeting on Wednesday and the chatter was meant to be to clear the air and say, are we going to pull in the same direction? The result of that, as we all know, is they've went, nah, that's fine, you're gone. Kennedy's gone. Unclear as to what's happened. Some people said he's resigned in solidarity with Brendan Rodgers. Other suggestions are saying that Dermot Desmond, off the back of all the fan stuff. And again, listen, it's scant consolation. To caveat once more, the board are the biggest ones at fault here, right? So any changes they're now doing is completely reactionary, and it is what it is, right? But let's just say the other end of it, guys, where Dermot Desmond is fed up of how shit things went. Again, pained by his own hand. He's at fault in this as well, but unhappy that they've made an arse of it and they're making sweeping changes. And apparently, whatever side you believe, Kennedy was more collateral damage. You can just go on all. You wanted to go in with Leicester the last time we blocked it. This time, he's out of job. You can go and get a new job with him. I think no matter what you think of Kennedy, the way he left and the lack of acknowledgement, proper acknowledgement, I thought was poor. Again, unclassy, unprofessional from the club, much in the way the Dermot Desmond statement came out. But we're now starting to see, I could be totally wrong here. Is it just me or does it feel like the club are very quickly trying to make things up to the fans? It is all reactionary, but we've seen the announcement of the fan survey, which you can access, long overdue. We see the manager quickly brought in, Fornham comes in. We also see the update on the stadium. There's the chat that there's going to be a new CEO in place and a new chairman will be coming in. That's all rumour at the moment. But let's just say, Paddy, we live in a world where these changes do happen, right? The stadium, obviously the banners are banners, but it needs a lot more work than that. But they do works on the stadium. They get in a new CEO. They get in a new chairman or chairwoman, whatever it's going to be. And chairperson, yes. We get to January. We do all right with this interim team. We get through to January, and then they go and they spend a whack load of money.
Yeah.
Where are we at, Paddy? Where are we at with that?
Listen, Steve, I've seen a lot of comments earlier on as well. People saying that the highlight that we done in at Celtic Park about the outside of the stadium and stuff, that we should do one about something else as well. And listen, is it down to us? No, I doubt that. I very much doubt it. But it's one of the things that I felt that we had to highlight was the outside of the stadium. And I feel like going forward, it's a step in the right direction, things like this. And we want to see change. Yes, we do. Do I think Celtic are going to go out there and reinvest 30, 40 million in January? No, I don't. I think we'll bring in replacements for certain positions that we've lost decent players in, but I can't see that much change happening that fast, Steve. I've heard a few things, obviously, about Mr. Lawwell and Nicholson and stuff like that, possibly being ejected for the club and having other plans in place for people to come in and stuff like that. You'd said as well, see, about a chairperson. We've seen someone sitting in the crowd at the Falkirk game as well.
So I believe they thought it was the ex Leicester CEO, but yes. It wasn't. It was actually not. That was incorrect. No, that was incorrect. That was one of our non-executive directors there. But that's still not going away. Again, the AGM has been announced. There's plenty of time, and usually, if people are going to be stepping aside, they would probably announce it at that. But yeah, it feels based on absolutely nothing. Now, I am still 100% with the collective. I'll still champion it on this channel. it needs to be root and branch. There needs to be significant change that needs to be done.
Yes.
But I do for some strange reason, I'm not being fooled by it. No way. I'm not, you're not going to fool me here. I'm going to pull the wool of my Celtic, but I just do based on nothing, I get this feeling that changes are afoot and it will be gradual. Is it completely reactionary? Absolutely, 100%. It's so see-through. But I'll take it as it comes. I mean, do you get any feeling like that, Terry? Do you feel that there's winds of change coming? If it's not, it's not.
No. We've obviously had the manager change. There's no smoke without fire. I think what you're probably seeing, and you can argue the toss over whether Dermot Desmond should have the level of influence that he has at the club. But what I would say is, historically, when he gets angry, and he's clearly angry, sometimes he tends to make good things happen in terms of what, from the perspective of a supporter, in terms of going for a manager that maybe we wouldn't normally expect to get, or going out and spending bigger sums in the transfer market and things like that. So I would get from the way he dismantled Brendan in that statement, it was one of either two things. He's absolutely pissed off that and again, it's not his role to do it, but he seems to have assumed responsibility when he feels it's got to the stage where he has to get involved in things that shouldn't be anything to do with him. Sometimes good things happen. So I think that's positive in terms of the manager search. I think through all of this, he will want us to win this league because of how things have played out with Brendan Rodgers. So I think that could be a positive. But we'll see whenever the AGM comes round, if there's any immediate moves or if there's any kind of rumours or timelines on when certain people may move. But if you feel Desmond is the overall biggest problem, that still doesn't resolve anything there. But no, it does feel as if it doesn't feel as if Brendan Rodgers will be the last big news story to come out this season. It doesn't feel like that.
Well, let's just quickly flick through it before we go. We're always talking about, they showed us its graphics. There was a sort of bit of confusion. Some thought these were up, but these are renderings of the new banners which will go up. Again,
can you confirm, Steve, that it is not AI? Celtic are actually dipping their hand into their pocket.
It's not AI. They're apparently going to be putting these up. And what I do like is it's nice, bright greens, vibrant. What I do like is I like a return of these sort of iconic players and iconic moments, things. I think it's got a bit more character, a bit more sort of about it. Wee things like this, wee touches, modern greats and, past greats yesteryear. I do like it. I think it's only a start. It's completely superficial. Everything else around it needs to be dressed up as well. But I'll take it. It's a start. And it's, again, why is it taking you so long to do these basic things, Celtic? The fan survey comes out. We're not going to deep dive into that. You can read through it. It's a real sort of mixed bag. I was quite surprised with some of the things. But, the overall, it's a casual fan, season ticket holder, even just people in general that don't go can be surveyed. I don't go to games, I watch them on the telly. So it's widespread and the results are varied. They're not all positive, absolutely, as you'd expect. And it's independent. So it's not as if they've, fudged the numbers a wee bit and sort of made it look more favourable. What's reported is there. So take your time. It's on the website and have a wee look through that. But no, I just get the feeling that this could be a precursor. Martin O'Neill back in. I would like to see if we're going to have a restructure. We know they've both said it. O'Neill and Maloney have both said temporary is temporary. We're here, try and stabilise the ship, get some results, allow them to move on to somebody else. He used the term a young manager with a track record. Who's that going to be? We see the name McKenna flying about. Some people are still clamouring for Knutson, Bodo Glimt. There's various others that are out there, but we'll see where that one goes. But I think at this moment in time, we're in a good place. I just feel that Maloney goes back to where he went. Maybe we try to change things. We get him a bit like a director of football or something. Maybe that is where Martin O'Neill fits into it. Fordoon is a good turn. Fordoon, he's Palace solid. He gets a job. But it's important that if he's going to be there, it's a job with influence and not a job for the boys. Yeah. I would like to see change, board level, CEO and chairwoman, chairperson. That's a good start for me. Yes, Mackay. Yes, non-executive directors that have been there for a while. But that's a good start. It's chairperson and it's the CEO. Get rid of the failing CEO. It's a right good start to begin with. I'm not getting carried away, but I just get a feeling that, as Terry says, see when he gets angry, when he's feeling like he's dressed down, usually for better or worse, we tend to kind of fix it. But it can't just be a reactionary look at the shiny and then just down tools and back to the norm. It needs to be proper winds of change. But we'll see where that one takes us. The protests were there. Great turnout outside. And as I said, I think for me, that's the perfect striking balance of how these protests can go forward. Between now and January, I'll say it over and over, no matter who's in charge, Celtic are fragile. And that buy-in of the crowd inside the stadium is needed. We don't need any diversions, but we also cannot let the board off with it. So the outside stuff before, perfect. Every single game. Outside after it, maybe. In the game, loads of chanting, but then still interspersed with stuff to get behind the team.
I said that right at the beginning, Steve. When you think back, I'd said that right at the beginning about getting all the social media platforms together, standing outside Celtic Park an hour before or an hour after the game, everybody going live and getting as much traction as we could, protesting against this board, because obviously I didn't want to do it in the stadiums. Now, listen, I don't think throwing balls onto a park is going to affect the players as much as what it did against Dundee. I think that was just a poor performance and a lack of ambition at that point. But we've come out of the side of that. Like you say, Steve, I feel like that was a positive protest. I felt like there was more people involved because they knew that it wasn't going to be in the stadium and affect the players on the park as much as what it did. And we've seen a different performance. We've seen something different. So I think that's the positive way going forward. You spoke about Martin O'Neill as a director of football. Again, that's something that we've spoke about previously, is having a Celtic, not a Celtic man, but having a football person in there that knows the ins and outs, because you've got businessmen doing our deals. Whether Brendan Rodgers was involved in transfers or not, we've essentially got financial advisors and accountants and whatever doing our deals, lawyers and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's not the position you want. You want somebody in there who knows the football side of it, who knows what people are going to bring. Yeah. Yes, Martin O'Neill, like we said, he's 73, he's an old man, but it'd be ideal for a position like that, even if he does it for a year to 2 years and then you replace him with somebody else. It's a position that we need to have, and it's Celtic Football Club, and it's a position that I'd be quite happy going forward.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens off the pitch, but it's all about what's happening on the pitch, and of course we are going on. Terry, I know you've been keeping an eye on it. Curiosity's getting me. What's the update? What's the update with the league? You were telling us that the jam parts
3-0.
3-0. Right, okay. That's what it is. Because again, it's just something to think about, because they'll be ahead. More points in the bag. Points in the board are always better than points in lieu, but we'll get there. But yes, to finish up, thanks for joining us, everybody. Nearly 200 watching live. Absolutely beautiful. Love to see that. Hit the subscribe if you've not. Get a wee thumbs up, share, get it out there, get more bodies in here. Guys, I'm going to do it. I've got the scores coming in here. I'm going to press you. It is, for me, genuinely, I don't know what to expect. I am hoping for a good game. I'm hoping for a energetic performance, more of that the same, more of the intensity. And I really think that for us, this is a result that can kickstart our season. Rangers losing, I say win-win for them, because clearly it's not if you lose, but what I mean is I don't think the effects of Rangers losing tomorrow are as high as it is for Celtic. I think that for Rangers, they'll know they've got a new manager, he's trying to bed in, he's trying to settle in, and they'll take it as it comes. I think for Celtic, a win does so much more for us. I think it really lifts us in adversity. So I'm going to put you on the sort of spot. Start with yourself, Terry. I know you don't like calling it, but if you were having, your head or your heart, what's it going to be? Tell me.
Oh, I usually do like calling it. I usually am confident, either way. confident that I think Celtic will win it, or confident that I think we could struggle. I'm going to go 2-1 after extra time, Celtic.
2-1. Yourself, Paddy, is this going to go the distance, or are we going to get it taken care of nice and early?
I think it'll be done nice and early, I really do. A positive performance by Celtic, and I reckon 4-2 or 3-1. I'm kind of swithering between the two, but if I had to go for it, I'd probably say 4-2. I think a proper performance by us. I do think they'll score. I think there will be a lot of cards. I think 1 or 2 players sent off. I'm wanting a kind of old school Celtic Rangers game here. I'm wanting a wee bit of chaos.
A real dust up for the ages.
Aye. I'm wanting square goals in the middle of the park, and I want a wee bit of chaos. I'm wanting.
Do you know what? That's the word. That's the word I've been thinking about in the build up to this. Brendan Rodgers always talked about controlling the game. So we did with the Ange style, which you could describe as a little bit kamikaze, but Rodgers always talked about trying to have control of the ball, control of the game. I think chaos helps us tomorrow. And I think Martin will help create chaos.
It's a good take. For me, I totally agree with what you're saying there. Control of the game is just essentially having the ball, and teams were happy for us to have the ball. That's the problem, right? Yes, of course, you want to feel comfortable. You don't want to be losing the ball, getting it back, losing it, bringing it back. You don't want that, but I agree, an element of chaos. Be comfortable in the periods that you won't have the ball. Accept it, but capitalise when you do. Steve, what are you talking about? You're stating the obvious how to win a game of football. But the one thing that I was buoyed by during the week, again, Falkirk, 5th in the table, no matter what you want to say about it, the amount of chances we created, but the amount that we were actually at least getting on the target, that for me is the key point. When you look at it, and again, I have watched Rangers since Danny Rawls came in, they don't look too different to what they had before. They don't create a lot of chances. They're not like, goal, shot. The game against Hibs, the highlight show was an absolute classic. They done next to nothing. They had a handful of chances, but they were robust and able to find it. I just feel on the balance, if Celtic turn up and Rangers turn up, Celtic will create far more chances, so it's important that we take them. That said, though, I'm going to have to be optimistic. I never thought I'd be here. A week ago, Paddy, I was sitting saying, can I get up for it? I've not been bought out. I've not been sold out and bought over and, everything's rosy in the garden after one game. I've absolutely not. But new manager bounce, what it means, having that manager really forcing that and impressing that onto this team, it's all changed. 2 new managers facing each other for the first time. So I still think, though, if Celtic put in even a percentage, 75% of what we got midweek, with the chances they are created, I expect us to win. But I also think that we do have our vulnerabilities, and I'll say 2-1. I think we'll go over. I think we will get over the line. I'll say 2-1. I would love to see a rip-roaring demolition job, but I really don't care. I take 1-0 and off the back of Butland's head. I don't care.
You take absolutely anything, Steve, as long as we get the result. But listen, at the end of the day, I feel like we've got the momentum going into this. Yes, they've got the manager bounce as well, but Martin O'Neill has brought that wee bit extra. He's come back. This is a legend of Celtic Football Club, and he's come in and he sees press conferences and everybody's laughing and they're happy, and he's got the fans back on side. He's got everybody singing for the same hymn sheet. Now, if he's got us like that, imagine what he's got the players like. Now, every player we've spoke to that's worked under Martin O'Neill has said the exact same thing. How he works, how he does things. People enjoy playing football under him. And that's what I want tomorrow. These players to enjoy playing football and get out there and doing what they can do and smashing them.
Final question for both of you. I just want a yes or no at you.
Yes.
Brendan Rodgers get beat off a Barry Ferguson temp Rangers manager. And I'll be honest, it was embarrassing, right? That's a narrative. And it is a mainstream media narrative, and whether you buy into it or not, it will be spun one way or the other. Start with yourself, Terry. For Rangers, is it embarrassing for their new manager to get beat off a temp Celtic thing with Martin O'Neill or not? A 73-year-old that's been out of the game for so long. Is it embarrassing for them? And then on the flip side of it, is there any shame in this Celtic side not winning tomorrow?
I don't think it's embarrassing. I don't think it's embarrassing from their perspective. I mean, losing to a Martin O'Neill team I don't get that at all. I think. What was the second part of your question?
So it's embarrassing for Rangers to lose to that, but equally, if it's for Celtic, if they lose, is there any shame in Celtic losing, considering circumstances? How does it reflect? Because they'll what the narrative will be. The narrative will be one of two things. If Celtic win, everybody will go, ha ha ha, put down by a dinosaur. You get put down by an old man. It's not been the manager for ages, right? That's what will happen. But then the flip side, it'll be, the golden boy Martin O'Neill with all his history couldn't beat young Rohl. It's embarrassing. Do you get what I'm saying? So
all of that's just banter.
Well, it's just conjecture and nonsense. But you know what's going to happen.
Stuff. I mean, ultimately, no matter who's in charge, these games will come down to small moments. They'll come down to a moment of brilliance or a mistake, or, as Paddy said, possibly a red card, or a poor decision. That games are swung on very, very small moments, and it's not embarrassing to go and lose a game of football unless you lose it by a massive scoreline. Or it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for us to get put out of the Champions League against Kairat. But to go into a League Cup semi-final in a competition that we've dominated for the best, we've dominated Scottish football for the best part of 20 years. I don't think it's embarrassing to lose a game. No, I think you could. There's a way to lose, and I think if Celtic come out tomorrow and play the Celtic way and give it their all, and we lose the game, then so be it. I don't find that embarrassing. But if we go out and we put absolutely nothing into it, the way it appears we have done in previous games, if we go out, we don't create any chances, we don't score any goals, we just continuously play the ball back, we get beat. If we go out like that, I think that's embarrassing.
I know it's a bit of a strange one, but the reason I asked the question is because I'm looking at personal thoughts on Celtic losing to Barry Ferguson. I thought that was embarrassing.
Yeah,
shouldn't have happened.
Like Terry's saying there, Steve. Well, Terry's basically stole my answer to it, and I was going to compare it to playing darts. Right, I play quite a lot of darts as well. When I go out on a Monday night, see if I play and I get beat. If I play well, I'll be all right with it. I'll be quite happy with that. Do you know what I mean? And if Celtic go out tomorrow and they play, like Terry says, the Celtic way, we're pressing, we're dominant, we're attacking, we put on a good show, but we just don't get it over the line, then do you know what? There's nothing to be embarrassed about there. You go, right, fair play. And I want to be able to turn around and do that. But if you go out there tomorrow and they play absolute crap like we have done previously, then you go, that was quite embarrassing. And that's something that I don't want. I don't think any manager going into this game should be embarrassed about the outcome of it and how it's going to be. But I feel like it's just bragging rights for the city, isn't it? It's one of the things. It's going to be massive. It's a turning point for the season, and I feel like whoever gets it will push on for a good 5 to 6 game run anyway, and come out the other side of it a lot better. And the other side, if they're on the losing side, it'll have a detrimental effect on their next few games.
Well, I hope you're right. Well, let's enjoy it when it comes. Till next time, take care of yourselves. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Paddy. Enjoy the game. Here's hoping for a win tomorrow. Take care. And Paddy boy.
As always, guys, hail, hail.
See you later. Bye-bye.